Germany, 1933. The streets of Berlin are filled with hunger and anger. Children stand in food lines, their ribs showing. Men sell family heirlooms just to buy bread. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, had crushed Germany. Their army dismantled, their economy strangled, their pride stolen. A young German soldier from the First World War rises in this chaos. His name, Adolf Hitler. Hitler promises glory, strength, and revenge. In smoky beer halls, he screams into microphones, his eyes burning with fury. "Germany will rise again. We will reclaim our destiny." The crowd roars. Desperation breeds belief. Slowly, Hitler and his Nazi party seize power, turning fear into fanaticism. While Germany rebuilds its army in secret, the world looks away. Britain and France, still scarred from WWI, whisper, "We cannot fight another war." The United States retreats into isolation, focusing on its own Great Depression. Meanwhile, in Italy, Benito Mussolini rallies his black shirts, dreaming of reviving the Roman Empire. Across the globe, in Asia, a rising power awakens, Imperial Japan, hungry for land and resources. In 1931, they invade Manchuria. By 1937, their armies march deep into China, leaving rivers of blood behind them. German tanks roll into the Rhineland, an area forbidden by the Versailles Treaty. The world does nothing. Hitler laughs. Austria. German troops cross the border. Crowds cheer as the Anschluss unites Austria with Nazi Germany. Again, no one stops him. Later that year, Hitler sets his eyes on Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland. Britain's Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain flies to Germany, desperate to avoid war. In Munich, Hitler swears this will be his last demand. Chamberlain returns to London, waving a piece of paper. "Peace for our time," he declares. The crowd cheers. They don't know they are cheering for a lie. August 1939. The world gasps. Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, mortal enemies in ideology, sign the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Behind closed doors, they secretly agree to carve up Eastern Europe. Stalin shakes Hitler's hand. The stage is set, September 3rd, 1939. Dawn. German tanks rumble across the Polish border. Bombs rain down from the sky as Luftwaffe planes scream overhead. Civilians run through smoke and fire. The Blitzkrieg, lightning war, has begun. 2 days later, Britain and France declare war on Germany. Church bells ring, gas masks are handed out in London. Posters read, "Keep calm and carry on." The Second World War has officially begun. The world stands on the edge of an abyss. Europe is burning. The US watches from afar. Millions of lives are about to be thrown into history's deadliest conflict. September 1939. The German Blitzkrieg tears Poland apart. Columns of tanks crush roads. Soldiers march in perfect rhythm. Overhead, the Luftwaffe bombs cities into rubble. Families carry children through smoke, clutching what little they can save. Within weeks, Poland collapses. To the east, Soviet troops pour in, claiming their half of the country as agreed in the secret pact. Poland is erased from the map. The world is shocked, but powerless. Winter 1939. In Western Europe, soldiers of Britain and France sit in trenches along the Maginot Line, waiting. Newspapers call it the phony war. No major battles yet, only silence. But across the border, Hitler prepares his next strike, May 1940. The silence ends. German tanks crash through the Ardennes forest, an area thought impassable. Blitzkrieg again. French defenses crumble. Refugees flood the roads, clogging the paths as the Wehrmacht advances. In Paris, panic spreads. Within 6 weeks, France falls. The once proud nation surrenders. Nazi troops march under the Eiffel Tower. Europe trembles. Summer 1940. Hitler turns his gaze to Britain. Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of the island, begins with air dominance. The Battle of Britain erupts. Sirens wail across London as Luftwaffe bombers darken the sky. Searchlights sweep the heavens. Anti-aircraft guns thunder. Civilians huddle in underground shelters, singing to keep spirits alive. Above, the Royal Air Force fights desperately. Young British pilots, barely out of training, engage in dogfights high over the English countryside. Winston Churchill rallies his people. "We shall never surrender. Against all odds, Britain survives. For the first time, Hitler is stopped. Angered, Hitler unleashes the Blitz, nightly bombings of London and major cities, firestorms engulf streets. Entire families sleep in subway stations for safety. Amid the destruction, a strange resilience emerges. Children play near rubble. Soldiers dig survivors from collapsed buildings. Far across the globe, war spreads. Italy invades North Africa, seeking empire. German troops push into the Balkans, taking Yugoslavia and Greece. In Asia, Japan continues its conquest of China, brutal and unstoppable. The conflict is no longer European. It is becoming global. The United States watches from afar. President Franklin D. Roosevelt urges support for Britain, sending weapons and supplies under the Lend-Lease program. But many Americans want no part in another war. December 7, 1941, Sunday morning, the sun rises over Hawaii. Sailors relax on battleships in Pearl Harbor. Suddenly, roaring engines. Japanese planes dive from the clouds, raining torpedoes and bombs. Explosions rip through the USS Arizona. Columns of black smoke rise into the sky. The Pacific is on fire. Over 2,400 Americans die in the attack. The next day, Roosevelt speaks to Congress. Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked. America declares war. The sleeping giant has awakened. Winter, 1941-42. Hitler launches Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. German armies storm across vast lands, millions of soldiers clashing. Cities like Kiev and Smolensk fall. But then comes Stalingrad. The city becomes hell on earth. Buildings reduced to rubble, every street corner a battlefield. Soviet snipers hide in shadows, waiting for German patrols. The Volga River runs red with blood. Civilians fight alongside soldiers. Winter arrives. German troops freeze in thin uniforms. Ammunition runs out. Finally, in February 1943, the 6th Army surrenders. Over 300,000 German soldiers are lost. The world realizes the Nazis can be defeated. Meanwhile, in the blazing deserts of North Africa, German General Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, leads lightning tank attacks. His Africa Corps seems unstoppable, but British forces, led by General Bernard Montgomery, hold the line at El Alamein. Explosions light up the desert night. By late 1942, the Allies push Rommel back. The desert victory boosts morale worldwide. Far across the ocean, the United States strikes back. June 1942, the Battle of Midway. American code breakers predict Japan's moves. In a stunning ambush, U.S. planes sink 4 Japanese aircraft carriers. The mighty Japanese Navy is crippled. Now, the Pacific tide has turned. Island by island, brutal battles rage. Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan. Soldiers fight not only the enemy, but heat, disease, and exhaustion. American, British, and Canadian troops storm ashore under heavy fire. Men fall in waves, the sea turning crimson. Yet wave after wave continues. Paratroopers drop behind enemy lines. By nightfall, the Allies hold the beachhead. Across occupied Europe, resistance fighters sabotage railways, cut communication lines, and pass intelligence to the Allies. Ordinary men and women risk everything. Some are caught and executed. Others inspire hope. The fight is not only in battlefields, but also in the shadows. By late 1944, the Axis begins to crumble. In Italy, Mussolini loses power. In France, Paris is liberated, crowds cheering as Allied troops march through the Champs-Élysées. The swastika that once flew over Europe starts to fall, but Hitler refuses to surrender. His last gamble, the Battle of the Bulge in December 1944, throws everything into one desperate counterattack. Snow covers Europe in white. U.S. troops surrounded in Bastogne hold their ground. Reinforcements arrive. Germany's last hope dies in the snow. The Axis is on the run. From the snows of Russia to the beaches of Normandy, the Allies are closing in. The world senses the end is near, but the final act will be the bloodiest of all. Winter 1945. The Allies push from the west, the Soviets from the east. German cities are in ruins, skies filled with Allied bombers day and night. Civilians huddle in cellars as firebombs reduce neighborhoods to ash. Inside his bunker in Berlin, Hitler rants to his generals. His once mighty army is shattered, yet he refuses to surrender. "We will fight to the last man," he screams, while the world outside crumbles. April 1945. Soviet artillery pounds Berlin relentlessly. Streets are battlefields. Tanks roll over rubble. Soldiers fight house to house. The red banner of the Soviet Union rises over the Reichstag in a storm of smoke and fire. In his bunker, Hitler faces the inevitable. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler takes his own life. The nightmare he unleashed begins to end. Within days, Germany surrenders unconditionally. Crowds dance in the streets of London, Paris, and New York. Victory in Europe is declared V-Day. But the war is not over. In the Pacific, Japan fights fiercely despite impossible odds. Kamikaze pilots dive their planes into American ships, explosions lighting up the seas. The battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa turn beaches into killing grounds. On Iwo Jima, U.S. Marines raise the American flag atop Mount Suribachi, a symbol of sacrifice and determination. Yet casualties are staggering. President Truman faces a terrible choice: invade Japan and lose millions of lives, or unleash a weapon never before used. August 6, 1945, morning. The Enola Gay bomber flies over Hiroshima. A bomb is released. Little boy, a blinding flash. A mushroom cloud rises into the sky. The city vanishes in fire and ash. Tens of thousands perish instantly. 3 days later, Nagasaki suffers the same fate with Fat Man. Survivors wander through ruins, shadows burned into walls, silence heavier than death. The world realizes humanity has entered the nuclear age. The war is over. After 6 years, over 70 million dead, the bloodiest conflict in history ends. Soldiers embrace, civilians weep, strangers kiss in Times Square. It is VJ Day, victory over Japan.